You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, here we go. It is Tuesday, February 17th, awaiting the quarterfinal matchup for Canada tomorrow. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. Rosie, you have some devastating news off the top, but firstly, how are you, my man?
Well, I was fine until you just scared me. I wasn't aware there was devastating news to share, but I'm all ears. I'm good otherwise.
Good. So I haven't been around things. Clearly, I was in Jamaica. I got back. I woke up to the news that the gold medal game on Sunday is at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Were you aware of this?
No. I thought that was like Pacific time or something.
Fuck no.
It's worse for me than you.
I automatically I thought of you like right away. I'm like, that sucks for the folks in Alberta, but because it was my buddy reached out. He's like, what are you doing on Sunday? He's like, I'm like, what time's this game? I thought it was going to be like 2 p.m. He's like, it's at 8 a.m. I'm like, dude, I'll be watching the rerun. That's what I'll be doing.
Oh, wow. No, I'm going to get up for it all. My boy likes to get up early for some reason, so I'll wake him up and we will do it. But, I really thought it was later. I thought it was going to be way worse this Olympics with the time change and whatnot. I thought it's been pretty good so far. There hasn't been any crazy ones, but the gold medal one, like, come on. All your numbers, all your population is over this way, isn't it? Like, why not cater a little bit to that? I mean, 6 a.m., let's get serious here. But keep in mind, we have to make it to the damn game first.
Yes.
Don't put your cart before the horse, Nikolai.
No, that's fair. But this Canadian team, Rosie, pretty damn good. But we look forward to this game coming up on Wednesday. I think it's going to be a repeat with Czechia, who's got a couple good players, Pasternak and Natchez. So definitely don't sleep on them. They got some goaltending as well. So that's how it maps out right now as you get set for the quarters tomorrow. You got Denmark and Czechia today, I believe just underway there in Milan, and then Latvia and Sweden. So there's a potential we get Nylander and OEL against Matthews in the quarters. I like that too.
I think that's most likely. I think that'll be fun. Matthews, interesting story over there, doing well, getting a lot of backing by his teammates. So we'll see how that goes. But that'd be fun to see those two face off, and that would be the semis, correct?
Yes, that would be the semis. I was mistaken on the flight here. My mind's all jumbled. I had a lot of alcohol over the past week. Had a great time watching the Olympics in Jamaica, but I didn't want to jump ahead too far ahead. The semis taking place later on this week. The quarters coming up tomorrow, and then there's a potential, again, Matthews versus Nylander and OEL in the quarters. That would be great for Leafs Nation, of course. But I think you look at the tournament point leaders, man. Are you shocked at all that Connor McDavid's that guy right now? The bigger shocker for me is Macklin Celebrini, the tournament he's had thus far.
Yeah, I'm not really. After game one, I thought I tweeted. I couldn't really see it, but I said I wouldn't be surprised if Celebrini leads this tournament in points, and that's a pretty bold statement for a kid of his age, but I just don't get how you get that good at hockey, and not just the skill, but mentally, maturity, being able to handle the moment, not shying away when you're on that stage, playing with those players. And, obviously he looked up to all these guys that he's playing with, especially the likes of like Sid and those types of guys. And then just to step in like, and I'll just take control of this whole goddamn thing. And, they were talking on the broadcast about, he's kind of beaver tailing it to McDavid. Like, it's pretty easy to tiptoe around those guys, and he doesn't. And that's not a knock at all. That's just the level of maturity that he's at and his compete level and what he's capable of at that age. It just blows my mind. And I remember thinking that about Schenner, because I played with him his second year in Toronto. He was like 19, and he was like the face of the franchise because they had nobody else when he was 18. And I'm like, how do you just, like, 3 years ago, you were playing like bantam, and now you're the face of the Leafs, and it doesn't bother you. You don't get the jitters. You don't clam up. You don't overthink it. You just step in and do it. And some of the guys have that mentality. It's a huge part of being an athlete, where you just don't let the moment get ahead of you. You don't overthink things. Celebrini's got that in spades, and he's showing it at this tournament. I know your talk was about McDavid. I mean, fuck. Yeah. No one's surprised McDavid's doing what he's doing. He's been waiting a long time to get on this stage, and he likes to prove himself at every step of the way. But what's really standing out to me is Celebrini, and just at his age, how mature he is at a level of compete that he's playing at. It just blows my mind. I don't know where it comes from. You got to be blessed by God, I think, because there's no other way to say it. He hasn't had enough time to develop all of this.
The composure for sure. And I think the interesting thing too is when Celebrini was taken, like there was some talk for sure, but a lot more talk about Connor Bedard, what he would be, the future. there's still obviously time to grow, but I think you're looking at a scenario down the road where at some point Celebrini could wear the C for this nation. I even saw a cool tweet that I think he'd be 39, but there's a potential he could play in 5 different Olympics for this Canadian squad. And also the fact of seeing the tweet that he was eligible to play for the World Junior team this year. Like, think about that. It's astounding what he's doing. Like, it's one thing to be on this team, right? It's another thing to be on the team and actually produce the way he has been.
Yeah, and I mean, he's showing that he didn't just scratch or claw his way in or hang on by a thread and then just kind of be on, kind of take him or leave him type of guy. He is standing out. He looks dominant. Obviously, you get chucked on that line, it's going to be a little easier to produce, but it's not. He is there. He's there for a reason. He deserves it. And I never thought about that, to be able to play in 5 Olympics potentially. I mean, there's like bobsledders that can't fucking do that because it's just too hard. And he's a hockey player and very well might. Yeah, and with all the fanfare about Bedard getting, drafted and what he could be, it didn't seem like that much for Celebrini. I guess Bedard's highlight reel kind of goals and things made it a little more flashy, and he's such a potent shooter. But Celebrini, to me, has got all the stuff like I talked about to start, all the mental stuff. Two-way, he's just built like he's going to be one of those guys. He's going to be a legend, barring any disaster, a Hall of Famer. I think he's going to be one of the ones, and you can see it already. Look at how old he is, and he's at that level. I think the sky's the absolute limit.
Well, to that point, he's that type of player where you're like, is he? It's more of like how many as opposed to is he going to win? It just has that feel, right? And I get it. It's tough to win in the NHL. Look at Connor McDavid, look at Draisaitl, look at Matthews and guys of that ilk. But I think you think Celebrini, you think leadership, you think composure, you think future. And if you're a fan of the San Jose Sharks, you have to feel pretty damn good about where things are trending, because he's got some secondary cast around him, and maybe goaltending is next for that franchise to take that next step. But yeah, Celebrini's the one guy I look at right now, and I'm like, holy shit, how talented this kid is, and the composure, even the penalty shot. I was laughing too. I guess Canada could have picked anybody to take that penalty shot, but John Cooper's like, I'm not getting in the way of that kid.
Yeah, it's kind of funny like that. I mean, there's another guy, John Cooper, just makes all the right moves. It doesn't second guess himself, just is in control. And I think I talked about after game 1, they had that meeting on the bench, and like you just saw these stud Hall of Famers just staring intently, hanging on every word. I really, that said a lot to me. And to give a guy a shootout, be like, oh no, we're gonna go to, like, there's not a chance when it's Celebrini. Maybe even if it was, do you think there's anybody that could have got hauled down and Cooper would have gone, now we're gonna have this guy take it? I think you just give the guy the shot, especially with the situation they're in.
No, definitely. You're right. You have to. And especially if it's Macklin Celebrini, you're not taking that stick away. The other thing that got me was the class too, the elegance, the grace, and the way he plays the game. Even, seeing his parents in the crowd. Like, I don't know about you, I'm scoring in the Olympics on a penalty shot. There's going to be a bit of a celebration. I didn't even know the puck went in. He just buried. He knew he scored. He had the confidence. He knew where he was going. Perfectly put, went straight to the bench, handshakes, and that's it. But again, it happens rarely in this country, and every so often somebody like this comes up and you're like, we're watching the future. And it's been a delight so far to watch Macklin Celebrini play for Team Canada. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your comment or question gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. So the reason why everybody's here today, to get Jay Rosehill's breakdown, people need to stop calling it a fight. It wasn't a fight, but the altercation with your boy, Pierre Crinon. And of course, I mean, you look at the potential of what Tom Wilson could have done to that man. But what was your breakdown of everything that transpired? We'll talk about what happened after as well.
Well, first of all, he runs into McKinnon. I didn't think McKinnon put himself in a very good spot there. Like, yeah, he got his elbow kind of into his head, but he just kind of ran into him. I didn't think it was cheap or nasty or anything. To me, I was almost like stirring the pot by saying, McKinnon, you can probably protect yourself a little better there to make that cutback. Nonetheless, they're chirping and they're talking. You're going to protect McKinnon, especially with Wilson. He's not an idiot. He's not going to go out there and go haywire. And you notice that during that altercation, like he could have gone haywire, and then it would have been an incident. And now you put your team down. Now the lines are all screwed up and you're suspended. I don't think Wilson could have really handled it any better than he did, and that's why neither of them are suspended. But they go at it a little bit, and their shit comes off. That kid's huge, Crinon or whatever his name is. He's got to be 240 pounds, and he yanks on Wilson. He goes down like a sack of potatoes, and then you can't really get back up. The Lineys are going to get in there in the Olympics in about 2 seconds flat. And I've been there where like things didn't go well and you didn't get your pound of flesh and you are just steaming at the ears trying to get loose, get free, and rectify the situation. And usually you can't, but he spins off the guy. I knew he would want to. His back's turned. He's sitting on his ass and he's just fuming. Finally gets loose, spins around. I'm like, oh my God, don't start throwing bombs in this kid's bare face or it's going to be an international incident. Of course, Wilson, he's smarter than that. He doesn't. And it's just a nothing thing, like whoop-de-doo. I can't think of a time where the gloves came off in the Olympics, to be honest with you. I was worried that you would get an extra game just based on the day and age that we live in and the IOC and everything else about holding hands and singing Kumbaya. I thought, man, he might be screwed for the next game. He must have known that or he wouldn't have shed his gloves. The rest of the game, no problem, no big deal at all. But now the story is France themselves suspended their guy for what he did, which just kind of blows my mind. What's the news on that?
Yeah, for provocative behavior, even though the IIHF decided not to apply any further discipline. I guess there was a backstory too. I guess this mutant like punched a goalie at some point in time. So that's why there was mixed reviews from his teammates. Did you catch some of the quotes from the teammates yesterday?
No, I didn't. I mean, I saw him doing this one. I'm like, oh God, how lost is this guy in this role? But other than that, I just thought that was soft as hell from France to suspend the kid for that. I didn't realize there was a backstory. If this kid's a knothead and has a history of being dumb and teammates don't exactly love him, maybe they took their chance to send a message to this guy. But what were some of the quotes? They probably didn't make him look in too good of a light.
No, actually, some of the it was actually mixed. Some of the guys, most of the guys, I don't even know how to put it. Like most of the guys are like, "What the hell is he doing?" But again, there's a backstory we don't know about. Like even I look more and lean more to the guys who actually play in the show, like P. Belmar, who's the captain. I think this is his last Olympics. Wasn't crazy about it, but there's got to be something more that we're not knowing from the media perspective that led to that. But all I could think about too was like Tom Wilson. Is there a guy in your career, Rosie, where you never got a chance to finish or answer the bell, through something? Because all I could think about is like Tom Wilson's never going to see this guy again unless he's like, you know what, I want to go to the World Championships and I want to play against France. But is there a guy that comes to mind in your career you never got a chance to get your hands on again?
Oh yes, he played for the Rangers. I can't think of his name right now, but he's the lippiest guy. Oh, there was that. It was the John Cooper team. When I was with the Marlies, we went to the Calder Cup and we ran into John Cooper's team. Pierre Cedric Labrie is one of them, but that whole team, Killorn used to run his mouth so bad. It was just, and they were such a good team. I think they set a record in professional hockey for most wins strung together. Yeah. Cooper coached them, brought a lot of them guys up to Tampa and turned into everything that they turned into, but they were such a good team. They were so cocky, and I just wanted to tomahawk almost every single one of them and wasn't really able to because we're in the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. But I understand the idea behind it and the shitty feelings, but bigger fish to fry for that guy. He's not worried about him in the slightest. He just did what he had to do to send a message to say, we're Canada. That's Nathan McKinnon. I'll do what I have to do. And he's smart enough to know how to do it without getting himself into really hot water, which I think he did just fine.
So Radko Gudas is on that team?
Yes, that's right too.
Gudas, Mike Angelidis, Corey Conacher at 114 penalty minutes. He's a small guy from Burlington. Labrie had 107 PIMs. Eric Nielsen, Trevor Smith, Jean-Philippe Cote. Anybody ring a bell here?
Everyone's always like, oh, you get kicked in the ass and you're told to fight and you're told to fight. I've only been told to fight one single time in my entire career, and it was Mike Angelidis, and Darren Rumble, really? Our former first-round bust, was our coach at the time. Kind of a disaster. Anyways, he kicked me on the ass and he said, get him. Just started kicking me in the ass, and I just jumped over the boards and jumped him and got suspended. And I was like, sweet Rums, fucking, how about I do my job and you do yours? But that happens a lot less frequently than people think when, guys fight 30 times in a year. You assume that the coach is telling you what to do. Fuck, you get to that level and you have that role. You have that role because you know when to do it and when not. And that goes a long ways with the coaches and how to get your place on the team is knowing when and where to do that. So I don't know if that was ever to happen, but Angelides rings a bell for the one time I got told to scrap in my whole career, and I had to go jump that guy. But no, they had a lot of guys, and they were cocky. They were really good, and fuck, they steamrolled us. To be honest with you, it was like boys against men in the Calder Cup final, and that was that.
I remember covering that season too. They were so good. But I think Tom Wilson early on, man, has proven his place on this team. If you recall, a month ago, people were like, Tom Wilson, like he was a guy on the periphery for sure. But I think the way he's fit in on that top line has been absolutely what they expected. And again, John Cooper and that coaching staff, all of them are absolute studs for believing in this. And Tom Wilson's a guy who's probably on your first line or he's on your fourth line. That's probably where he sits, but I think he's been a great fit on that top line so far.
Yeah, and if you look back to like Canadian rosters, whether it's World Junior or whatever the situation is, sometimes you load up with way too much skill and scoring, and it's like, well, how do we leave this guy off? And you just have this one-dimensional team. Sometimes you're like, oh, we're going to really be tough and send a message, and it's like, well, no one can score any goals. And I think that even though you're talking about Wilson having some question marks, it was pretty clear they're wanting to put together well-rounded team who checks a lot of boxes, and Wilson is obviously part of that. And you go through the lineup, it's an embarrassment of riches, so it's kind of easy to do with the level that all these guys are at, physically, defensively, offensively, all the rest of it. Their power play is an absolute joke, but you look at the team and it is well-rounded, and like guys are hard on Suzuki right now. And it's like, well, why? Just because it's not just a lightning show of highlight reel goal scoring. Like some guys are fourth liners still, and they got to play defense. And, not everyone's going to stand out in the way that Celebrini is right now. But it seems like so far, at least, there hasn't even been a hiccup, and it looks like a really well-rounded team where you're covering all your bases defensively and kill, and then commitment to it. Just looks like commitment all over the ice. And Tom Wilson, like, he has elevated his game in the last however many years to be on this team, be able to score the goals, be in the big moments, be defensively responsible, be physical, and have that presence that everyone's begging for this day and age, where not a lot of guys are willing to play that way. And he 100% deserves it, man. He's just, I didn't know when he was kind of starting off in the league that he was capable of getting to this level. And he deserves it all the way. He's as good as it gets. And I love those guys that don't have to play physical and don't have to be mean and go make guys answer the bell, but they do anyways, because it's just like, it's not necessary. Like, you're good enough to be in the National Hockey League. You're going to have a big fat contracts. You're going to be there for a long time. You don't have to do that stuff, but they choose to anyways. I always respect the hell out of guys that do that.
1,000%. And I used this word the other day. This Canadian team, granted, with due respect to Czechia, really haven't played anybody yet, but they seem very, very connected. There hasn't been any scrutiny yet. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. Looking forward to the semis. I understand you got to win this next game, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. And it really feels like Canada and the U.S. are on a collision course, right? I don't know about you, but it seems like we're on a collision course, and we're going to get Canada-U.S. just like we're going to get the women's game coming up Thursday.
It kind of does. I thought they would look more dominant, to be honest. They haven't, I wouldn't call them hiccups, but they've had some closer games. I think that Italian game to open it up, and with, at the end of the day, they got the job done, but Canada just hasn't had 1 minute of play where it's like, geez, what are they doing out there? They've always kind of been in control. They've been swarming them, and defensively, and their power play is unbelievable, and they're killing them with things they need to kill. Their goaltending's been really solid. There's just nothing to pick apart. And I don't know, it does look like it's a collision course for Canada USA, which I think everyone expected. I think they are the two powerhouses for sure, and it would be a huge upset if they weren't in the final together. But I think that, I don't know, obviously I'm biased, but I really feel like Canada's stood out so far as being the stronger team. But again, when you come down to a one-game take-all, anything can happen, and I do hope that ends up being the storyline.
Meantime, the finale of Women's Hockey Report Quest for Gold is here on Thursday afternoon. Canada and Team USA go head-to-head for gold in Milan. Join Irfan Ghaffar and Sophie Bate and Madison Packer live as they break it all down, react in real time, streaming at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. It's Thursday, February 19th. It's the final we all expected. But from what I understand, the Canadians a massive underdog, but can't say much more about MPP, man. She comes back from injury, misses a game, just 2 tucks. That's what she does. That's why she's the best to ever do it for the women's game.
Yeah, she really is. I was watching a little bit yesterday. Some of those girls can snipe, man. There was a short side bar yesterday by that number 37. Her name escapes me right now, but it's just a dirty shot. Like, I can't do that. And Philip Murray Poulin showed some battle and came back. I didn't know if she was going to be done for the tournament or what the story was going to be. But when she's out there, she's very noticeable. A really solid team. I'm sorry. I hope it's like a miracle situation and they overcome the odds, but they are severely outmatched by that American team. They've got a bunch of dogs on that team and they swarm and they come, and I don't think any team's had a chance against them so far this tournament, but my fingers will be crossed for the girls. I'll tell you that.
Definitely. And you can make the case that that's the best rivalry in hockey right now is Canada-US because they play each other so often. Like, they're two teams with respect to the other squads. We all knew this was coming. It always happens. But during the year, they play each other a lot. But to your point, it's been thorough domination from the American squad. They just seem better, but one game take all. Stranger things have happened, right? And again, when you have MPP on your team, anything's possible too, right?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, throw a lot of Herb Brooks quotes around and whatnot, even though it's the wrong country. Oh, yeah. But like I said, when it's winner take all, 60-minute game, anything can happen. Hockey's a very momentum-driven game, and if you can get a really hot goaltender, a bunch of puck luck, and just control the momentum somehow, and have the opposition take you lightly, which I think is a long shot, but a lot of things got to go right for you to get that win. But like we've seen before, stranger things have happened. Not going to be putting a lot of money on the Canadians, but I will be watching intently, hoping that they can do something special, because it's going to take that to beat the Americans.
At any rate, at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And also don't forget to check out theleafsnation.com. I believe the teams can start practicing again today, so we'll have some more to talk about later this week for Maple Leafs practice as they get set for the final 25 games of the regular season. Reminder, they're 6 points out of a playoff spot, so we'll see what transpires over the next little while. Meantime, the following opening segment is brought to you by Table Fare and Social, your go-to spot for pregame bites, after-work drinks, and good times downtown. Conveniently located directly across from the arena, just steps from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Table Fare and Social offers a wide selection of food, cold drinks, and space for large groups. Family-friendly fun and ready to host your crew. Book a pregame party for your friends and colleagues at Table Fare and Social, located directly right across from the arena. So the Canadians get set for their quarterfinal matchup. As we talked about earlier on, Rosie, they'll play either Denmark or Czechia. Some news from the practice today. No McKinnon, no Bennett, no problem. Just maintenance for those two. And it sounds likely at this point, reading the tea leaves on Morrissey, that he's going to come back. He practiced with Parayko, which is great news. He's one of the top D on this team. And Brad Marchand, like, this is why you bring Brad Marchand to Milan. I don't think you need him to play. He's such a vet. He was banged up prior to the Olympics. We're going to see him here in the medal round games. This is when he shines. Like, he's going to score a big goal at some point, right?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. He's been doing it for years and years and years, and he's a big game player. He likes to be on that stage. So I understand them resting him and giving him a blow, and same thing with McKinnon, all these guys. I mean, again, when you got the hockey minds at the helm that Canada has, you don't really have to look too closely at what they're doing. They're making the right calls. All that experience adds up to, making those right decisions. But I wouldn't be surprised if Marchand got back in there and had one of those pivotal moment goals. I don't know, depending on who they're playing and what's the situation, but he is no stranger to that kind of shit. Some guys have that in their blood, and he's one of them. So I hope he's feeling 100%. I hope the rest has helped. And I don't know. There's so many weapons on that team, man. Like, every time you go through the roster and just start laughing, and you look at even their second unit power play is like funny to have those guys on the same hockey team. It's an embarrassment of riches, and it's awesome we get to watch. So I, for one, am pretty excited about it all.
I hope Marchand doesn't go anywhere anytime soon in terms of retirement. He's just so good. And I know I bitch and complain about when he plays the Leafs and he's got this quote and that quote. Like, even picking up on what he had to say today after practice, he's talking about how he didn't even think he'd play in this tournament, and he probably thought he would just be like a glue guy. It's like, Brad, we're not idiots. We know you're going to be a focal point of this roster in the top 9, but he just knows the cadence in which to handle the media, and that's what makes him Brad Marchand. That's what makes him a guy who has won at every facet of his career, because he's just such a pro about everything, and he just knows how to keep his composure like that. That's a big story for me, is composure in a tournament like this, right?
Well, he's got the experience, right? He's been in so many moments over the last 15 years with the Bruins, and then with, obviously last year moving on to the Panthers, and then, all his international play too. It's, you don't play like him without like being in the shit a little bit and having a little smirk on your face and stirring the pot. That's why his interviews are the way they are. That's why he gets in so much, altercations, and he's always at the center of some kind of controversy, whether it's good or bad. Stirring the pot, chirping, running his mouth, getting under people's skin. He is the best at that. And it's not a surprise that when he's doing his interviews, he likes to have a little smirk and throw some wrenches in the gears as well. It's just part of his DNA. It's part of his personality. And I remember back when he's licking people's faces, people absolutely hated him. And it's like, yeah, even back then I was like, yeah, but if he's on your team, you aren't complaining too much. Since then, he has just done so much on the ice that I don't think, if there's a person who says I wouldn't want him on my team, I think you're completely full of shit, because he's got all the right stuff and he's proven it 100 times.
I love that. Back in the day when he was licking faces. Matthew Tkachuk.
That was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a different player now. He knows how to hold his composure a bit more, not cross the line. He knows how to toe that line for sure. Did you like that Matthew Tkachuk quote with Draisaitl? That's pretty good shirt, man. Pretty good stuff man. There.
Yes, he's like, fuck. Guys like that, it doesn't matter who they are. They could chirp Crosby or Gretzky. It's just like whatever I can say to maybe piss them off or rub them the wrong way. And a guy like Draisaitl, like, who chirps Draisaitl? Nobody, because there's nothing to chirp. But a guy like Tkachuk will find something to say. And I mean, that's a pretty good one. It's to the point where it's like, Jesus, twice in a row in the final. Kind of plays second fiddle to McDavid, you could argue sometimes now in the Olympics. It's unbelievable. And same thing with Tkachuk, man. People can't stand him. And you see the Drew Doughty comments coming out. It's like, yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but let's be honest, anyone would die to have the guy on your team. And that's what I always come to when people are chirping him. It's like, do you think he cares what you think? You're not a part of his program. Everyone that's part of his program is loving what he does out there, wants more of it, and can always see the benefit of it. The only people bitching are people who either aren't even a part of it or have to deal with him. So I just chuckle at people that get on his case. It's like, he is so goddamn effective. It's not even funny. And anytime a guy gets engaged like that, verbally or chirping the bench or physically, It's like, that guy wants to fucking win. He could easily not do that, not put a light on himself and kind of hide and hope he gets his cookies. It's the fucking polar opposite with those two Tkachuk brothers. They want to be right in the fire. They've proven that 100 times. And I would die to have any one of them on my hockey team. If you were to build one, I think those guys would be right there at the top.
Very unique players for sure, and bring a lot to that American squad. We'll see what they do, and it would be pretty damn cool to see Canada and USA square off again. That rivalry's starting to cook. It's starting to build again, which is fantastic to see. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We talked earlier about Morrissey. Easy decision if you're John Cooper about who comes out. Would it just naturally be Sanheim who came in for Morrissey, or would you look at like a Doughty or a Parayko or somebody else?
No, I mean, Doughty, you want his experience there. You want his leadership. You want his vocal, aspect in the room, and his play is solid too. Parayko, the big, solid puck mover. I mean, I know he had that gaff there in a couple games ago, like whoop-de-doo. The coaches are not worried about that. They go pat him on the back and say, hey, like, little brain fart there. Don't worry about it. It's Sanheim to me. He was the guy who, I know I've watched these games with some guys who are like, who's Sanheim? And I'm like, Jesus. But like, I think that he could have been left off for Schaefer, to be honest. Looking back, when you look at the way Schaefer's played, remember when he came to town and played the Leafs, and it was just like, oh my God, like, this guy has Makar, Quinn Hughes type vibes where he's controlling the play out there. And I know he's young, but he's disgusting. One of those up and comers who I just think will be the face of the league here soon. And I know he's young, and you already brought Celebrini, but I can't help but think that what Travis Sanheim brings to the table, Schaefer would have done that and then some, and then you might have a big question mark on what to do when Morrissey comes back. So it's Sanheim to me. It's an easy fix, and I'm glad Morrissey's not injured and he's ready to rock and roll. I think he'll be a great addition.
Looking forward to March 17th, by the way, as Matthew Schaefer will make his debut in Toronto in the NHL. Former big fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs will make his return. Scored the winner, I believe, way back when, about a month and a half ago against the Maple Leafs. Just a wicked hockey player. But again, it just gives you confidence knowing what's ahead for this nation. Guys who are not even there with the Canadian squad right now. Guys like Bedard and Matthew Schaefer, they're in really good hands, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to 2010, I can't believe how long ago that is now, but it was the time where America is starting to be like, their program's gotten so good and they got so many studs and players that are making their mark in the league. And it's like, oh my goodness, is our time of dominance kind of coming to an end, or is it going to start, flip-flopping with this team? And to win in 2010 was huge, and then 14 was huge, and then that Faceoff, Four Nations Faceoff last year.
Yeah,
they looked so strong and well-rounded, and they wanted it so goddamn bad. That was the biggest thing to me, is those Americans, they wanted to dethrone Canada so badly, and they thought they would. And in typical American fashion, they were a little bit cocky about it, and they weren't real good at hiding their feelings about it. And to stuff it up their ass and send them home, how pissed off they are, and here they get another crack at it 12 months later. It just sets the table for such a good thing. I was worried that the Olympics would be kind of a letdown because it would be international. I thought it would be on big open ice, on the Olympic size ice, and it wouldn't be physical, and it wouldn't have the buildup that we thought it would, because the Four Nations was so organic and out of the blue that it just blew everyone's minds. I don't believe that's the case. I think this is super intense hockey, everything about it, the rink size and just the way they're letting them play, and how the IOC got together, the IIHF got together with the NHL and said, let's call it more NHL style. They're letting the boys hit. Even Connor's blowing guys up left, right, and center. McKinnon's, finishing every check. I love the way that guy plays. The table is set for some historic hockey games here coming up, and I would put money that it would be Canada America in the gold medal game, and everyone's going to be glued to that one, whether it's an early game or not.
6 a.m. Mountain start. Don't forget that one coming up on Sunday, if it happens. If it's important to say that. This segment is brought to you by Hurley and Levelware. Golf is evolving, and Hurley and Levelware is right at the heart of the cultural shift as athletes from across pro sports embrace the game and bring fresh energy to the course, inspired by Hawaiian and coastal lifestyle vibes. Hurley and Levelware translates that feel into sustainable high-performance apparel built for today's athlete. The collection is live now. Visit levelware.com to shop polos, hoodies, hats, casuals, and much more. That's Hurley and Levelware. So the Americans also prepare for the quarters. We talked about it earlier, taking on Latvia or Sweden. That's a 3:10 Eastern puck drop this afternoon, so looking forward to watching that one. But I want to get your thoughts on a clip that transpired, I believe, late last week or over the weekend. Auston Matthews initiating a scrum 1-on-4. It went viral. It pissed off a lot of people. What'd you make of it?
Well, I think it's great to see. It's what we've been begging for.
Yeah.
It's easy to harken back to, what was that Montreal series where he's getting absolutely ragdolled in the playoffs. They're trying to get their pound of flesh and get under his skin. And instead of planting his edge and fuck you and right through the guy's head, he stands like a Raggedy Ann with his hands at his shoulder, at his waist, kind of smiling, looking at the ref, waiting for daddy to come save him. And it's like, Jesus, that's an embarrassing look for your fan base, right? And he's taking a lot of heat because of that. And now he's taking heat because he's doing the right things. Everyone on that team just speaks so highly of him, talking about his leadership and whatnot. But you gotta understand that, why does he take that heat from the Toronto fan base? Because we have not seen that, right? That is what has been lacking. You look at the Game 7 losses and the blown series and the heartless, pulseless efforts that they've had when it matters the most. It's easy to look at Auston Matthews and say, where was the jam? Where was the fire? Where was your leadership? As we just talked about these McKinnons and these Tkachuks and all these guys. Well, what do they all fucking have in common? It's not hard to see where Matthews has been lacking. But now people are hard on him that he does that in the Olympics. Fuck, I love it. Good for you. Where were all his teammates is my question. But a big 6'4", guy like him who skates and has the power and everything, plants an edge and fucking fires one back at the guy's chin, doesn't take any bullshit, don't even think of fucking touching me. That's the mentality I want. So it's nice to see he has it, because, to be honest, that's been the question. Does he even have that in him? Does he even know how? Does he that's just maybe not part of his DNA, but you're seeing it there in the Olympics. Obviously he's fired up. They got a big job to do, a big mountain to climb. They want a gold medal as much as anyone else. He's wearing the C. He's got a lot to prove, and he's been playing great through the whole tournament. So as a Leaf fan, I love to see it. I'm not giving him any more shit. I'm saying that's the stuff, Auston. Find that, channel that. Don't do it too much against Canada. But other than that, as far as the Leafs are concerned, I love to see that shit come out of him, because he's been lacking it.
For the record, there have been broadcasters who are covering Team USA in Milan who do not cover the Maple Leafs on a daily basis, calling out Auston Matthews. For all of those people out there that say we're just too hard on this guy and give it to him undeservedly. There are others. There are others in the States giving it to their. It's just like, articles here and there questioning the compete level. Like it was happening earlier on in the tournament. Then he responded where he gets, the monster outing against the Germans. But it's more like a lot of what we talk about, the inconsistencies in the game. And then you get the whole thing with the teammates. They ask the teammates about it. Then Gensel comes out and says, you guys put a lot of heat on him for no reason. Eichel says he's one of the best for a reason. Matthew Tkachuk has to get involved because he loves the Maple Leafs. As we know, he was awesome. He's our captain. We're following his lead. It always seems to have to get to that point where they got to ask about him, and there's got to be some reaffirming from the teammates. So that's where we're at with Team USA here, Rosie. But Matthews is at a pretty steady tournament. He's gotten better and better as the game's gone on here.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to watch them as closely as Canada, but it's just, I don't know, the mentality that you present out there, like, again, with the Chuck brothers, they're always on their toes, leading with their chin. Like, there's never a question of whether they're engaged or not, where, sometimes with Matthews, it's like, guy, everyone watching can see the situation here and what it needs, and you seem to be kind of on your heels, not maybe shying away a little bit, waiting for your chance to bury one. It's just not really good enough for a lot of people, and I think that's why he gets the criticism. But is it warranted? Yeah, I think it is. He's had plenty of opportunities to be that guy, and he has come up short every single time. So there's where it is. Doesn't mean he's cooked or he's no good. Like, fuck, there's some middle ground here, you guys. He's a very good player, talented out the ass. All his teammates seem to like him and say the right things about him. I think that he just, especially in the market of Toronto, that is, sitting where it is as an organization, they need to see more. So if he's showing that in this tournament, I'm all about it. But I understand why he gets a little bit of that attention sometimes. So, really good player with tons of talent. It's up to him if he wants to, turn into something else or turn the page or open a new storyline or show something that he hasn't shown before. Like, everyone's watching, now would be the time, I think, in the Olympics too, to make your stamp. And who knows what will happen with the Leaf season once that resumes here sooner than later. But, it's not hard to see why that narrative keeps coming around.
Man, this is where it gets fun. Like, you throw everything we saw the last week out the window. When the games start mattering, that's like, it would be pretty cool. And I'm not cheering for the States. It'd be pretty cool if we saw like a signature Matthews moment in a semifinal game where he erupts for a hat trick and USA wins to send him off to the gold medal final, or he has a monster gold medal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if it was Nylander, like, he's another prime example of a guy who's had a really, really quiet tournament. And again, there's always the asterisk with him. How hurt is he? Where is he at in this game right now? He's got 2 points so far for the Swedes. There's been a lot of dysfunction with that team as well. But I think it would be, excuse me, so great for one of these guys to elevate and have a monster game at a big point in this tournament, right?
What about Mitchie Boy? Well, yeah.
He's not a Leaf. I don't care. I don't care.
But, no, it would be. I mean, fuck, I don't really care about, Leafs wise, sure. If Matthews wants to pop off and have a big game against, say, Sweden and have his little moment, that'd be great if they blew their load and then they were out of juice and energy for the Canadian game. Let's do that. Let's go with that storyline. That'd be fine. But yeah, when you think about Willie, I just, he's been quiet, like you said. He's got a couple of points. Their team's been a little bit up and down. I just can't help but think, like, if he's limping around right now and hardly skating or practicing, like, how much could that 2.5 week break have helped his groin for him to be just rehabbing the shit out of it and resting and not doing anything? I just can't help but think he's going to get out there. There's going to be 6-7 games left before the trade deadline, and he's going to be kind of half skating around there again with this little twinge in his groin, and he's going to take all these maintenance days and hardly practice, and it's going to be like, oh fuck, like, useless, like, I just can't help but think that he is hurt and he shouldn't even freaking be there. And I understand it's a huge moment for these guys and country and all this stuff. But as a Leafs fan, with him kind of limping into the Olympic break and playing he did look damn good the last 3 games. But when you see about the maintenance days and him not practicing or skating, it doesn't really seem to be at 100%. I think that's concerning. But again, you said these games that are coming up here are going to be do or die, and we'll see where things land, because the cream's going to rise to the top here with these elimination games coming up.
Hey, you brought him up, number 93 with Canada. What's been your assessment so far of the Golden Knight?
He's been fine. Sometimes you don't notice him too much. I thought he came out of the gates a little bit decent, but there's a few guys you don't notice. But with so much
Yeah.
firepower, it's easy to kind of take a back seat and not be the explosive player. But I don't know, just typical Mitch stuff. You see him here and there trying to make a play. He made that real nice dish in game one, but other than that, just I'm not saying he's a ghost, but just I haven't noticed nothing crazy.
Man.
Just like there's a handful of guys on that roster who are really good players who I haven't noticed that much. I mean, that's just how much firepower they have on their top six.
I want to give some love to Mark Stone too. Not the fastest player in the league, but you watch him, especially in a setting like this, and you're like, that's why he's a winner. That's why he's widely regarded as the best defensive player in hockey right now. He's just so good with his stick. He knows where to be. And I thought this tournament was big for the legacy of Mark Stone, and he has delivered so far. He's been a great story.
Is he that slow? Everyone just ripping him. I see these memes and fucking TikToks and stuff. I'm like, he's not that slow. I watched that breakaway a couple of times. I'm like, fuck, he's got his jets on. Like, he's not.
Who's
that
faster,
slow.
Mark Stone or John Tavares?
I think Stone. Ooh, they look very similar. Kind of that wide
one,
stride, and
Yeah.
they got some chug going. I think they might. I don't know. Maybe one of them looks slower than they actually are, or something. But because that can be the case sometimes with different skating strides. But no, how many times does he have to show that he's a gamer, that he can execute when it matters, and you give him a chance and he'll bury? He's done it time and time again, and the commitment to defense is why he's on this team. And he just doesn't seem to lose. He elevates, and that's why he's had the success that he has had, and it's why he's on this roster, and he's already shown it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a moment in the rest of the tournament that was a big Mark Stone moment as well.
This team is so good that nobody has talked about Braden Point not being there, who's one of the best players on the planet, pound for pound. Like that hit me, man. I love Braden Point. I was really disappointed. I wanted to see him play. Like, I don't think he's a guy who ever gets the respect he deserves, but this team has been so good so far that we haven't even really thought about Braden Point, which is crazy to think about.
Well, why would you? Look at the storylines? Like, they're endless, and all the players, and from the goaltenders to the back end to the McKinnons, McDavids, Crosbys, Celebrini. It's just like, fuck, anyone could get lost in the shuffle, but that's how deep this team is. They're lucky that they could lose a player of his caliber and not really notice, to be honest. It's just an embarrassment of riches with this country right now, and it's a damn good time to have that, because like we mentioned, in the last decade or decade and a half, those Americans are chomping at our heels, and at any point in time could kind of take the crown. So it's nice that they have the weapons to be ready for that, and it's going to be more likely than not here in a short amount of time we're going to see him face off again for the big one.
Yeah, by the way, we are tracking this game between Czechia and Denmark. Midway through the second period, it's 1-0 Czechia. Martin Necas with the power play goal from Hronek and Cervenka. Yeah, so that's happening right now. Once you tune out from this show in a couple of minutes, you can go check that game out. Again, the winner will play Canada coming up tomorrow. So it puts them in a tough predicament, and I get why. Like, it's qualification playoff, but they're going to be in the second half of the back-to-back against a very well-rested Canadian squad coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing. The rest that you get is, sometimes that's kind of hit or miss. And is someone going to be sloggy and knocking the rust off and whatnot? I just don't see that in this tournament. I think it's a huge benefit to have that bit of a break and a bye there. They will be coming guns blazing. I wouldn't be surprised if, like game one, they came out and were just a flurry of activity in the offensive zone there. But yeah, Necas, not surprised he scored. He is dirty, man. They're lucky to have him. They got a couple weapons, but I mean, so many good players throughout the tournament. But you look at some of the teams, and it's the fall off after the top 2-3 names is pretty substantial. And you look at the Canadians and Americans, and it's just like, oh my God, like, how do they even pick what the top line is? It's wild, and it's no surprise why they're the favorites here. So yeah, I didn't realize that was live. I'll probably listen to it on the radio on the way out to Banff. But
nice.
We will see. That was gonna be my bet of the day for the 365 segment, but I might have to pick another one. We'll see.
I got to give Colorado a lot of credit, because that was a story of the NHL season last year, as you trade Mikko Rantanen, and it's always difficult to make a trade and a decision like that. But Martin Necas has been a great fit. And the better part about that story is that Necas is elevated into star status. Like, I think he was always a good player, but now I view him as a star, and I'm sure he's enhanced with the players around him in Colorado. But we're even seeing it watching this Czechian squad, that he looks no different than a David Pastrnak. And that's the ultimate compliment to Martin Necas for believing himself, getting that contract. But I think he's been a different player, weirdly enough, since being dealt to Colorado. And speaking of which, it's one of the most exciting days on the hockey calendar, Rosie. As you know, you were taking a piss when the Leafs got Brandon Carlo. Teams are setting up their rosters for a playoff push, freeing up cap space and adding future assets. Join the DFO crew on Friday, March 6th, 11 a.m. Eastern time for the daily Faceoff trade deadline special. Again, that's Friday, March 6th, 11 a.m. Eastern time for the daily Faceoff trade deadline special. We haven't gotten together to discuss what we're going to do that day, Rosie, but I think we should do another live stream maybe at 2 o'clock Eastern time. You never know what the Leafs are going to do this year, right?
Have some drink. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't know. It's almost like, considering how far we still are away in many ways, the narrative of are we buyers or are we sellers, like over and over again. And what do you move it for? And is it prospects? Is it picks? And is it to trade up for more in the summer? It's just like this endless narrative. And MLSC has not said anything of substance as far as who's at the helm or what they're doing. So it's going to be the narrative for weeks to come, without a doubt. I'm really interested to see how the Leafs come out of the gate after this Olympic break. Coming off that 3-game bit of a heater, all of a sudden now there's hope in the air for a lot of people. So it's going to be an interesting storyline, no doubt, and it very well might come down to the time that we're sitting there doing the live show when we actually find out what the Leafs' actual plan is. Sometimes I wonder if they even know what they're going to do, man. It's tough times and tough decisions to be made, without a doubt.
So after the break, they got 6 games prior to the trade deadline, as mentioned, on Friday, March 6th. 4 of those on the road. They got a back-to-back out of the gates at Tampa, at the Florida Panthers. Then you have Ottawa at home. You have Philadelphia at home. You have Jersey on the road. You have the Rangers on the road. But it would not shock me at all to see this team go on a bit of a run. We talked about it prior to that road trip out west. You lose that one in Seattle. Bam, bam, bam. All of a sudden you win 3 in a row. And it's like, oh, yeah, we know what this team is capable of. But that's been the story all season long, is they're consistently inconsistent, right? So you just never know what's going to happen. And I think the most fortunate part, OEL hasn't played a lot in this tournament. It's disappointing that Nylander's banged up. Matthews has gained some confidence, I would say, the last couple games. But for the most part, from an Olympic standpoint, the Maple Leafs are going to be a well-rested team. And we talked about that a lot with the likes of Matthew Nyes and John Tavares.
Yeah, those two will benefit big time. Those goaltenders too. I mean, Stoli was just starting to find his footing at the Olympic break, and for missing so much time and all the fanfare about him coming back against, such a big game on that Saturday at home against Vegas, and it not going well. Like you said, Tavares is going to be rested. Nyes is going to be rested. I think both of those guys who haven't really been a huge factor like they're capable of down the stretch here through some of their struggles is going to be potentially rectified here after this rest that they're going to get. And then the goaltending situation, I mean, if you can get those 2 hot goalies like they were last year, where they're basically 1-2 in the NHL, which they are capable of, obviously, it could start to spark a lot of hope in Leafs Nation. A lot of people are going to say, hey, it doesn't matter if they sneak into the NHL, they're going to, or into the playoffs, they're going to get dummied. But if that team plays as good as they can, like that 10-game stretch after Christmas, and say they get Tampa Bay and they sneak into a wild card spot and they get Tampa Bay, I don't hate them against Tampa Bay. They've had a lot of success against them. And, then who do you face the second round? I mean, fuck, it's crazier things have happened. I don't want to start that narrative, but I will admit my mind starts to wander at times at just a different look than they've had the past 10 years, where they're kind of always favorites going into playoff series and oftentimes not doing well with that front runner mentality. Maybe the underdog is what they need, but I think they're a long ways away from that, as the position they've put themselves in is garbage.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. So anything you are looking at Olympic-wise, whatever sport you'd like, I don't know. I haven't really been betting recently, as you know, but anything you like, Rosie?
I've been killing it.
Olympic
I was
betting,
looking at Czechia. Yeah, and the girls team and all kinds of stuff. Just get a
Nice.
little vibe for something and take the spreads and
Yeah.
whatnot with some blowouts. Obviously, that's kind of fun. But Czechia, Denmark, I was going to take the over. It looks like that line has obviously moved. Are they halfway through the second period? I thought that just started. Interesting. You got to think. Let's take the over in the Sweden-Latvia game. Over 5.5. Let's go. I think Sweden figures their shit out and pumps about 5 in all by themselves. So over in the Latvia-Sweden game.
I like it. Give me a Nylander ATG. Why not in Latvia, Sweden? And by the way, it's 1-1 as we sign off here midway through the second between Czechia and Denmark. Alexander True, I believe. Yes, that's his name because I remember his name from being drafted. He has responded here for the Danes. So we got a hockey game, Rosie. Ooh.
I like it. Well,
Wow.
fuck. Imagine that
Yeah.
would be. I kind of rather play Czechia. Like if Denmark gets by, it would kind of be their little swan song. But a little bit of a tune-up before the big game. I'm assuming Canada's going to beat that team. If not, be a complete nightmare. But nonetheless, we'll watch it and see who comes out on top. It looks like a bit of a dogfight right now.
All right, partner. That's going to do it for another edition of Leafs Morning Take. We'll reconvene later on this week. Okay, does that work for you?
Sounds good to me, boys. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics, and we will talk on that date.
Love it. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast as well. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic for Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk later on this week. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.